So in the beginning of the pandemic, I was living in my van. So I parked my van in my girlfriend's apartment complex, and I was a school speaker, and no one was allowed in schools, not even the students. So I was without a job, and I needed to figure out which direction I was going in. And I realized I needed to make the best use of my time. And throughout this last few years, I've been purposely like being more conscious about the way I'm spending my time. One of the things I find myself doing now, even my phone is on Do Not Disturb. The reason why I leave my phone on Do Not Disturb is if your phone can ring anytime and you look over at it. If it rings, it alerts you. It's literally an alert. And you go over and you check your phone, but you don't check your phone checks you. Okay. When I feel like checking my phone, I go towards it and I see what's there. So it's more of when I'm ready to do it.
Now, here's what I'm curious about, because I actually don't know much about Do Not Disturb. You can still, if someone calls, is there like a way for them to get around for like an emergency or anything like that? So if
someone calls twice back to back, they get through to you.
Oh, I hope people are going to know that's how to get through. But yeah. I didn't realize that's what that did.
Because your phone has become such a part of you that now people who have your phone number can get in touch with you. So now they always have you. Now I cut that shit off.
Well, not only that, I mean, I don't know who's still calling you constantly, because most people are calling or texting.
Those are just same as distractions.
Yeah, I mean, the way your brain treats it is more or less the same, and it has the same effect on your ability to focus and get things done.
So, and just to prove how important focus is, like think about whatever you do for a living, right? Think about your job. You're there. Think about how many hours you're there. Think about that. How many of those hours are you actually productive? Do you think, let's say you work an 8-hour shift, do you think you can knock out all of that work in 2 hours and just go home? If they would pay you for the full 8 hours, could you pull that off?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they've released tons of studies and research on this. That people waste so much time, because now part of it, I am not excusing anybody's waste of time, but part of it is they're incentivized to waste time because they need the work and the job. If they feel but perfect example, if you have a job where you can waste time and you're just waiting around for the next email, you're scrolling Instagram or whatever, instead of if you can find 3 hours of wasted time in the work to do whatever you want, why don't you get ahead? Yeah, work on something outside of your job, because right now you're working towards making your CEO more rich. What are you doing for your own brand and your own person, your own family? Use that time for yourself. Instead of just scrolling on social media and texting and wasting time.
And not even to shit on social media. But if you look at what social media is, 1 out of every 5 posts is an ad, which means someone is gaining value.
And that's a post that is obviously an ad. We're not talking about.
That's obviously an ad. But that means at least 20% of your timeline, someone is making money off of.
Yep.
What are you gaining from the 80% of your timeline? Are you following people from high school that you don't give a shit about? Are you following
starting an argument or commenting on posts with people that don't know you exist anymore?
Do you not have anything going on in your life? So the first thing you do is you open up the Discover button to see what other people have going on?
Which is crazy to me.
You said something earlier. You're like, it's nuts that there are people who are broke and bored.
That's crazy to me. Like how could you be not just broke, but how could you be out of shape and bored, broke and bored? And I'll even go as far as to say, single and bored, because
uneducated and bored.
Yeah, because there's so many things. Like I have too much stuff to do that I'm like actively working to reduce my load. I don't think I've ever uttered the words "I'm bored." I mean, it's been a long time. There's just so much to do, so much to see, and we're not even talking about entertainment. Because look, if you're not able to entertain yourself because you don't have like the resources to go somewhere or do something, I get that. But there should be something that occupies your focus that allows you to get closer to being able to do that stuff or makes you better. There's no ambition, man. No ambition. And that's like a simplistic
I think here's why I think there's a point of no ambition. Ambition is not glorified anymore, because the idea of dealing with adversity means you have to deal with something difficult.
Yeah.
But it's like, for lack of a better term, like we're being bubble wrapped.
Oh, for sure. There's we talked about this. I didn't know you guys had checked the book out, The Coddling of the American Mind, where Dr. Haidt talks about how parents started, particularly kids born around 95, started removing these obstacles from the lives of their children, so they were not taking risks. So, we need to be anti-fragile. We need to like bump into stuff and make mistakes and have problems, so we learn to navigate them. And then, the person who navigates the most tends to have a better outcome and figures it out. But now it's like no one is interested in doing that because they haven't had to. And look, no one wants to deal with hard stuff. Like I don't go looking for problems.
But now that I look back at it, and I used to hear people say, "I'm grateful for my hardships." I'm like, you're saying that because you dealt with them already. Now that I've dealt with it, I'm like, oh, I see people who haven't dealt with hardships. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to have been you,
because you can't deal with, because life doesn't take it easy on anybody.
Perfect example. So in my 20s, I was always broke. You got to hustle to find out where you're going to pay your phone bill. Hey, can I help you move? Can I do this? You become very resourceful and creative. You figure out a way to get shit done.
Yeah.
When the pandemic happened, I was like, oh, everyone has to play my game.
Yep.
And it was my comfort zone. I was living in a van, barely making it.
Now you're used to it.
Everyone has to play the game that I'm playing.
I wrote a little short poem I put up about this, that like, when you're used to walking on unstable ground, an earthquake is just another day in the park that destroys, another walk in the park that destroys everyone else. And that is like what dealing with the uncertainty of life is like, the struggle to figuring it out, facing these hardships, is that you're always walking on unstable ground. So that when there's an earthquake that wipes out everyone else, you've been walking on this forever. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a real advantage, or at the very least, you're not disadvantaged.
Yeah. And at that part, like the part of my life when I decided to park the van and actually use my time wisely, I was home. A lot of us during the pandemic was home a lot. And I remember my girl sitting down. We're not big on TV, but I realized we started watching TV, and she's the one who pointed it out. And she's like, we're not going to be watching TV the entire pandemic. And I'm like, I like where you're going. What are we going to do? She's like, well, if we can't find anything to do, we're going to play Yahtzee. And we would just sit together in the evenings after dinner, and we've played together over 3,000 games of Yahtzee. Grant, she's up by, I think, like 7 right now, and we keep track.
7.
But the thing is, we decided to spend time with each other consciously.
You used it intentionally. You didn't just so there's 2 levels of existence. You are consuming or you are producing. And if you're producing, it's not just like, I am making stuff. No, it is, you're taking raw materials and converting them to something, as opposed to having raw information, raw things just sent through you. So working on your relationship, building a closer bond with someone, that is still production. That is still the improvement of something in your life, by taking raw material like time and converting it to something useful, as opposed to what people tend to do, which is, oh, I'm going to go pass the time. I'm going to go kill the time.
Yeah, killing the time, man. Killing yourself. It's like all you have is time.
That's it. And if you don't use it well,
it's going to be spent.
It's going to look, at the end of the day, you're going to die no matter what, right? The idea is that we die having with some cool stories. It's like people used to say to me, like, aren't you worried about getting hurt, or aren't you worried about CTE or something like that with boxing? And I'm like, not really. And even if I was, check this out. We're all going to die. The difference is, when I'm about to die, I'm going to have some cool stories to tell on my bedside, or to people who are next to me on my bedside. You're just gonna have a regular life and you're gonna go away.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the best use of all of my time
because you ain't got a lot of it.
I don't got a lot of it, and and it rubs some people the wrong way, because I am go go go, and the reason why I got this far in life is because I had to just not care about certain things, and even when those things, sometimes I had to not care about how I felt.
Yeah,
when I was first going to the boxing gym, I didn't want to go. Like I was getting bullied in school, but so you want me to go to a boxing gym where there's probably professional bullies? That experience was so intimidating to me. But I went to the gym every day because I'm like, 1 + 2 = 3. I am 1 and I want 3. I need 2 no matter what I have to do to get it.
You just have to keep going. And that's something that is lost, man. Like, it's just lost, this idea of commitment to something. And not just really commitment, because I think about the commitment I had to boxing. I said, look, I know what it's going to take for me to leave. I didn't know anything about the sport, right? I'd have to get in there and really be unhappy, and even if I had a bad experience with the people, I go, well, enough people have done this. I'll figure something out. But there's a commitment. There's a commitment. That means I got to put my time somewhere and invest it. And I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but one thing that we kind of figure out intuitively is that if we put our time somewhere where there is no harm done to us, or rather, no, I mean, because it's boxing, you're getting hit. But if you put your where it's not this kind of malicious harm, right, or malicious destruction, then you tend to create other opportunities for yourself, and you tend to improve your life. And it's better. It's so much better than, like, I could have just went to the bar every day after work. Instead, I started going to the gym. Now, I still ended up with like issues with drinking, but how much worse could it be? My health, my discipline, resolve, and reason for carrying through and getting better. Because one of the reasons I stopped drinking was my career took off. My professional career was starting. If I don't have that reason, maybe I don't stop, right? And why do I have that reason? I have that reason because at some point I said I'm going to commit to just going to this place, doing this thing day in, day out, every day. I mean, there was a point for most of my career, 6 days a week.
But the anchor to all of that was that commitment.
Yeah.
And for years, I've heard people say the secret to success is to write things down. And then I started writing things down, and things started to change. And I wish that it was more difficult, so I would have taken it more seriously. Because once I started writing down my ideas and they became concrete and inflexible, I had something to hold myself accountable for. And I think if there's anything you take away from any of these podcasts, go write something down that you want to do.
Once it becomes real, once you write it down, it's no longer this thought in the thought clouds. It's this real thing you can touch, manipulate, and make a plan with. And you can see how close you are to it. And then it works on your head. It's a lot better than typing it.
It enters reality.
Yeah.
Write it down and it'll enter reality. Because if it's in reality, it's real, right? When I called myself Cam F. Awesome, when I call myself awesome, since then, I would say I've been pretty awesome. The situations that, because my name has gotten me in certain places and I've gotten to do certain things, my skills, my talent, but I've lived a pretty awesome life because of that. And my interactions because of my name has been awesome.
Yeah. You get more out of your time when you try to, you get more out of your time when you intentionally use it, is ultimately the point. And that's what writing things down does. It's intention, man. I still think, but I remember when I came to the realization that one of the problems with, especially today, people in like relationships, is that they are so reluctant to say they're in a relationship. There are all these other terms. We're talking to somebody, or I'm just seeing where things go. They're not they don't want to be serious and put the intent out there. They're looking for someone, or they're trying to make this relationship work as a unit, because that exposes yourself. When you make a commitment to something, when you say yes, what you're going to do, then what you've done is you've also introduced a condition for failure. You can't say, if you say you weren't trying anything, well, you don't know if you didn't succeed, right? If you don't commit to something, you don't know if you wasted time because you were just playing around. But when you commit, when you go, I'm trying to get this done, I'm trying to get this thing. When you invest, now there's a real condition. Well, did it work or not? We can look and see. And then you can get back to the drawing board. You face pain, you face failure. You face a falsifiable thing, as we say, where we can say it didn't happen.
Yeah. And I think, and I get shit a lot for my ego, right? It is said that I have an ego, which of course we all do, but I'm at least able to, my ego doesn't get in the way of me being embarrassed, because in order to be good at anything, you're going to have to first be bad at it. And I've put myself in positions where I'm able to be bad at things. Now, I don't let my ego get in the way, because of course I'm going to lose it. So I'm going to suck. I'm going to be bad at something. I do comedy. I'm going to bomb. But if I bomb, I at least have something to reference to get better.
Yeah.
But if there's someone at home who won't do it and they'll laugh at me for bombing, they're actually worse than I am.
Now take that idea and look at when we were talking about people not facing these hard things early. So challenges are like scary and that pain is too intense.
We're bubble wrapped.
Yeah, if you're bubble wrapped, if you never skin your knee, oh, you're not gonna go and try and play a sport, because skin knees are dangerous and hurt. You gotta stay away from those things, right? And so the idea of putting your body in a position where it's gonna be under stress and it'll be broken down and you'll be sore and hurt, that's hard, right? And that's the same thing with anything. If you don't challenge yourself in terms of how you think, you're not going to take on tough ideas and tackle those. How you interact with people emotionally, if you don't have emotional vulnerability and come with the risk and the pain, they come with risk and pain. And when people betray you or take advantage of you, you're not going to be able to open yourself up later in life, and ultimately you shut down. That's all this comes to you. But what we realized, what anyone who is willing to embrace this stuff realizes, is that there ain't no growth without pain, man. You get, and growth is the goal, because you could be safe. I just can't imagine why a safe life without growth or improvement, why that's appealing. I mean, I know why not being in pain is appealing, because you're not in pain. Yeah. Right.
But if pain is the only way to get something, I'm gonna go through that pain.
Right.
And the way I look at it is, so even for speaking, I thought I didn't know about the 10,000 hour rule when I started. I didn't read that Malcolm Gladwell book, but I had this concept, like, if I just need to be bad 100 times. That was my goal. Was I just need to be bad 100 times. It might take me 1,000 times to get that first 100 bombs out of the way of me doing bad. But every time I would get off the stage, I'm like, that wasn't that great. I don't really mind, because I'm like, all right, cool. I'm almost there to getting 100 of the bad ones out the way. Like, it's just a part of, there's no way to avoid being bad.
I write about this in an article. I talk about, I just love the idea of fixed versus growth mindset. And it turns out that some people really have a fixed mindset. They believe that whatever talent or ability they have, that's it, and they can't get any better. A growth-based mindset, and I think I was a bit of a fixed-based mindset for a little while until I started fighting, and I saw what happened to my life and my abilities as I practiced, because I committed. I committed, still being in pain, but I committed, knowing that I'd eventually get better. I knew that if I just kept getting reps, just kept training, just kept practicing, I could improve. I would do great. And a lot of people, they don't have that reference. They don't thinking, okay, this failure gets me closer. That goes, oh, this failure sucks. It feels bad. There's too much emphasis on feeling bad. And look, you're gonna feel bad no matter what. You might as well feel bad in pursuit of something instead of like.
And then and at that point, which one of us has the ego?
Right. Isn't that the weirdest thing? I always say, the irony of people who always win is that they never lose. Right? Or people who say they never lose, there's no way they will ever actually win, because you ain't gonna win if you don't lose something, man. And wherever you lose, where you lose, but you get it out the way up front quickly.
Yeah.
You're gonna improve a lot faster.
I will not lose, for even in defeat is a valuable lesson learned. So it evens it up for me.
Jay-Z was the blueprint too. Yeah. That line, man. If I was the guy that got phrases tattooed, I get tattoos, but I'd never get a lyric.
Yeah, that line, probably one of my favorite Jay-Z lines, except for he had a line about being successful. It's one of, and it was such a line where I'm like, oh, because I read it, I like to read Jay-Z lyrics, because when you read it, it's on a whole nother level.
You can't even hum it.
Oh, here goes. I can't feed the poor. I can't
if I'm one of them. Yeah.
I can't help the poor if I'm one of them. So I got rich and gave back.
That's a win-win.
That's the win-win. But no. Think about that line in two different ways. I can't help the poor if I'm one of them. So I got rich and gave back to me.
Yeah.
Not gave back to, I got rich and gave back to me. And that's the win-win.
The song is Moment of Clarity, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you want to maintain your cred.
Yeah.
And all. But yeah, that's the whole idea is we commit ourselves to blocks of time, because we were talking about time management.
Yeah.
And really what the crux of time management is priority management. And when you manage your priority, and your priority is to be as good as you can be at something, to be as successful as you can be at something, then the only way to do that is you got to go suck for a little while and understand that that's part of the process, that you've prioritized seeking greatness, seeking, notoriety, whatever it is. You don't want to shy away from this. And I think that's where the failure lies. Why a lot of people don't get what they want, that sting keeps them, because it stings. No one likes failing, and it stings, but they stay away from it.
Yeah, it's a fair thing. The fear of failure. I would say, just to kind of wrap this up, just with the time and the things that I've learned with managing my time and trying to be more disciplined with my time and having honest assessments of the way I've used my time. Look back at your last 24 hours. Like what blew my mind was how much time I spent on apps. Now, I don't say this as an Ed Lattimore who tweets, and you make a living off of social media.
Yeah.
Now, there are people who, and sometimes my screen time goes up when I'm driving and I use my GPS if I go for like an 8-hour drive or something. But look at the hours you're using your phone, and don't just look at the hours. You can click and get a little more specific about which apps you are using.
Yep.
Now, if you're telling me that you, for some reason, found 28 hours to be on Facebook or TikTok over the last week, that is a long time, because some people are averaging 5-6 hours a day. Now, if you can find 27 hours in a week to be on TikTok, you're either a consumer or a creator.
And the odds are you're a consumer, because most people aren't creators, kind of by definition. Well, so, not even by definition, just most people aren't creators.
Not at all. So be aware of the way you're using your time.
Yeah, be cognizant of how you're using your time, how you're investing, and what you commit to. If this episode spoke to you, if you feel like you are able to better use your time and commit to something and face some hard stuff, we'd love it if you commented, shared, and left your thoughts. Even if you hated it, tell us why you hated it. Just help us grow and help us be great producers, and we hope you produce based on all this cool stuff that we're dropping on you. You enjoy your day, and we'll see you next time.